reading from the letter of Paul to the Hebrews. In the days when Christ Jesus was in the flesh, he offered prayers and supplications with loud cries and tears to the one who was able to save him from death, and he was heard because of his reverence. Son though he was, he learned obedience from what he suffered, and when he was made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation for all who obey him. The word of the Lord.
Our second reading for this Sunday comes from the letter to the Hebrews. When we were reflecting on the first reading from the prophet Jeremiah, we focused on the promise of a new covenant, not anymore written on tablets of stones, but written in the hearts of men and women, an interior covenant with God. And now, because of that interiorization of the covenant, that covenant is offered to everyone. For as long as you have a human heart, then you are a potential partner of God in God's covenant offer. And we said, as we were ending that reflection on the first reading, that new covenant in the heart, available to everyone, will be fulfilled in Jesus Christ. And that is precisely the point of the second reading. Since we are on the fifth Sunday of Lent, we are very close to the celebration of the passion and death of Jesus Christ. And here, we find in Jesus' passion and death the fulfillment of the new covenant promised through the prophets. In the letter to the Hebrews, we are given a picture of Jesus in his agony, crying out to God in supplication and prayer. But prayer not only for himself, not for his own salvation, but he was the voice of everyone, crying out to God. He is the voice of all those who are suffering, the voice of all those unjustly treated in history, the many mothers who are suffering, the children who are suffering, the unemployed, the victims of society, of discrimination, those who are crying out to the heavens, waiting for God to be a true covenant partner who will be true to his word. Jesus embodies all of them in his cries to God. But according to the letter to the Hebrews, this cry which culminated on the last cry on the cross, leading to death, this comes from the heart of Jesus, the heart of the covenant. What Jeremiah talked about, the covenant written in the hearts of men and women, we find fulfilled definitively and completely in the heart of Jesus. The heart that is obedient to the Father. That's the covenant. The covenant in the heart is given a name by Jesus: obedience to the Father's will. Now, we know, those of you who are parents, those of you who are godparents, grandparents, teachers, you may give policies, rules to your children, rules to your constituents, written on paper. But you cannot count on the heart. The heart can still disobey the rules. You can send your children a text message, "Come home at 11. Oh, but the heart can say, "Oh, my watch says only 9 o'clock. They've already adjusted the watch. Okay? So, obedience in the heart, the capacity to be in covenant relationship in the heart, Jesus manifested that through obedience to the Father. And according to the letter to the Hebrews, this obedience of Jesus, which is the apex of his obedience to the Father, of his covenant relationship with the Father, his fidelity to the Father in covenant, has a universal import. He has become the source of salvation for all of us. So, interior covenant, in obedience to the Father, and every person, like Christ, who is faithful to the Father in his covenant or her covenant with the Father, through obedience, you become a blessing to everyone. You become a blessing to many people. This is the passion and death that we are preparing to celebrate in a few days. The new covenant in the heart of Jesus that has become a blessing of redemption for all of us.